Welcome back. It's time for a quick campaign diary for my Shadows over Bedegar campaign. Our session last night was maybe my favorite session of an RPG I've ever run. For some quick background, I've adapted the Siege of Castle Rend adventure from Strongholds and Followers for a first level party and draw steel. Last night was our fifth session. I've added some twists to the story to make it a little more complicated and dramatic. Basically, the orcs tricked a local band of goblins into kidnapping the local hedge mage Pinna from the town of Gravesford. The party managed to discover all of this and, through some negotiation, convinced the goblins they were being lied to by the orcs. The party was moving through the forest to try and find the White Tusk orcs at Castle Rend. We had a new player, a telepath talent, joining the party, so the two of us decided that he'd been captured by an orc patrol. I'd planned for the party to come across the patrol, free him by round 2, and then ease him into combat for an hour or two. But then, the others split the party to send a sneaky advance team in an effort to draw out some of the enemy and reduce their numbers. The battered Gnoll, the insurgent tactician, and the fate conduit all pushed ahead alone. The other three stayed back to lay a trap for pursuers. Okay, I can pivot. I made it clear the orcs were camping for the night when the players came across them. The Gnoll crept forward and got the first sign of the talent, who I'd put a psionic suppression collar on for narrative reasons. The orcs hear him and assume it's just an animal, but now they're on alert. The three players discussed what to do, but there was some miscommunication. The tactician and the conduit thought the Gnoll was going to use his displacing gloves, which he'd gotten from some background feature, to secretly remove the collar from the talent and get out sneakily. Clever. Awesome. The talent was a polder, so they thought both he and the Gnoll could quietly slip away. The Gnoll thought they were going to draw the group back to the rest of the party for an ambush and use that distraction so the talent could get away. So, the Gnoll sneaks to within 10 squares of the talent, steps out into the open, steals the collar, shouts, "Run!" and we draw steel. Okay. Since the orcs were alerted that something was going on nearby, it wasn't clear who had initiative to me, so I had the Gnoll roll, and he rolled a 2. Not good. A Blood Runner went first and almost got a crit. I think it was an 18 naturally. As it was, he still did 13 damage, which the Gnoll halved to 6 through his triggered action, and the Blood Runner shoved the Gnoll 4 squares closer to his allies. Maybe I should have knocked him prone, but at the time, pushing him into a larger group of enemies felt like a more dramatic thing. The Gnoll, as a part of that triggered action, disengaged and basically moved right back to where he was. After some discussion from the party as to who would go first, including the idea of letting the Gnoll, who was a revenant, just die and collect his corpse in 12 hours, the talent went. The new player. Literally his first ever session of Draw Steel. He'd never seen us play, he'd not been involved in any of our previous playtests, and he absolutely killed it. First, he used Awe, and gave the Gnoll temporary stamina. Then he scurried through some underbrush and used Poultry to get away. Pretty much no chance of the orcs to catch up to him at that point. A pair of Orc God Callers went next, both with Tier 1 results, fortunately. The Gnoll popped his 1 healing potion and sprinted 16 squares off the map. The orcs were so focused on recovering the talent that they didn't decide to pursue the rest of the party into the darkened forest. Everybody met back up, and the talent, who luckily spoke Kaliak, was able to tell them that there was a debate raging amongst the orcs as to what to do with their male prisoner. There was no mention of Pinna. I'd sown the seeds of discord between the orcs before, but now the party knows that the male hostage is a bargaining chip of some sort, and that the second in command wants to just kill him and be done with it. But that Bonebreaker Doracor still wants to use him as that bargaining chip. Tired, the party headed back to the goblins that they'd struck an accord with for a respite. We had about an hour of great RP moments mixed with some fishing, but the important part came when the tactician used his criminal contacts feature, and rolled a tier 3, to learn of a secret way into Castle Rend. The party has since taken some goblin canoes down the river to an old grain transport passage underneath the castle. It'll be a tight squeeze for the 1Ms, but if they can get in unseen, they'll be one step closer to rescuing Pinna, and the even more valuable male hostage. Of course, they'll have to survive the dozens of orcs inside. If you'd like to hear more of this campaign, I would be more than happy to continue these campaign diaries. It's been an absolute blast. I've got a great party of 7 players. We've been playing together on and off for the last 5 or so years. So please let me know in the comments if you want to see more of this type of content.